Ooka chaka, ooka, ooka, ooka chaka, ooka, ooka, ooka chaka, ooka, ooka, ooka chaka, ooka, ooka.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Welcome to week 8 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. With us is Coach Bill Neese, and I'm your host, Shrubb here. Indians fall to Xenia 21-7, and what was a game was indication the score doesn't really tell you how close the game was, as we were down 21-0.5, win the second half, actually 7-0.5, actually a chance to advance the ball and put ourselves in a position to win the game. But unfortunately, based on spot of the ball, we don't get that opportunity to move forward, and Indians lose to a very, very good Xenia team.
They were, and we knew coming in they were going to be a powerful team. We knew before the season they had a ton of returning starters. They run the option very well. It's their bread and butter. I mean, the perfect example of that would have been that we had him in a 3rd and 16. Looked good for us, favorable to us, and they ran a midline option. It's a play straight up the middle for 17 yards. So in their mind, that's what they do. If you stop them, you stop them. If you don't, it's a long night. I thought we did well back and forth in some segments that we were able to get stops on them. I think they got us on a few. We just got done talking to our team about the option football, and it's one of those things where somebody makes a mistake every once in a while, and you got to be the one that capitalizes on it. I thought offensively they were strong on defense, but we came out in the second half and established great run game, moved down the field, scored, and we literally talked in the locker room. We said we're going to go out and score. They're going to get a turnover. We're going to come back and do it again and make it 21-14, and that's exactly how it happened, minus the fact that we didn't get that second score. And we thought we had it on 4th down. We weren't able to convert, and then after that it was just kind of a 3 and out. We 3 and out on both sides, and it kind of wound down.
The Indians, a lot of things that we learned about that team are about our team as well as Indian. But from Pickwa's perspective, as always, we make adjustments at half, and we're down, and we were right back into the game, and our guys came out in the second half with the idea that, hey, we're going to win this football game.
They have great confidence. And that's what I really enjoy about this football team. We don't have hardly any bad moments. We don't have anybody. I don't have to spend half my time cheerleading, pumping people up, getting everybody ready to go. We do that during the week and before the game. But once the game starts, I think they do a great job of keeping themselves at a high level. They have high level of expectations, and that allows us then to play to the very end. And in every game, even when we're not starting off well, CJ game didn't start off well, finished well. Lima Senior's a 3-point game. West Carrollton, we were onside kicking at the end. So every game this year, we've put our best foot forward, and I cannot be more proud of the efforts of our players on any particular game.
Well, you look at it from a defensive perspective, in particular to we're down 21-0. That means that Xenia doesn't score at all the second half. We make quite a bit of adjustments, obviously, and our players do, and as coaches, they execute the game plan that you saw. But what were some of those key adjustments that we had to make defensively?
Well, I think that the number one thing was we flipped our defense a little bit and on the perimeter versus they put 3 guys into one side. Usually they come out with the 2 offensive tackles on each side. They put their 2 offensive tackles on the same side and created what we call a 3-man surface. And we flipped our defense from an odd front to an even front, but our tackles for one series were playing shaded, and you couldn't tell from the angle of outside that they were shading, and they hit us on 2 midline options, which you don't want to shade versus midline option at all. And so when we came off the sideline, once we got a chance to talk to them, we said, hey, it's 62, and some of these guys are so experienced, they've been around. I said it's the new 62, not the old school 62 that we ran last year. Oh, okay. So they went back into 2s, and then that slowed down the midline option. So that was one thing. And then the second thing, our outside linebackers were just a little too anxious sometimes to come up too quick. And we a couple times had two guys on the quarterback because our outside wasn't sure if our inside was going to get there. And we said, hey, you got to calm down a little bit, let that inside come around, get over the top of their offensive tackle. They had two massive offensive tackles. Both of them are Division I players, but our linebackers are fast, and so our inside linebackers were able to get over the top of them. So once that was established, then we were okay.
And so basically what you're saying in that case, being patient and waiting for the play to develop, and then attack.
Yeah, perimeter-wise, and Colin, Coleman, and we had Cheney out there, and those guys did a really good job of recognizing of when they were supposed to be patient when their key arc releases, or when they're supposed to come right now when their key goes inside. If their key's inside, they're going to double our inside linebacker. So that means they've got to come now. But otherwise, they can wait for that inside linebacker to come, feather it out a little bit, then go out to themselves. So it's just one of those things that you can't. Again, it's so hard to get that at practice.
Yeah.
To get that look. But we got a pretty good look. I think our offense gives us a pretty good look, and we watch film. We study it on paper. We do walkthroughs. So it takes sometimes it takes you a little bit of time. Somebody says, "Well, why did after the first quarter you're all right?" Well, we got to get a look at it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, speaking of getting a look at, we're going to get a look at Greenville coming in on Friday night, our last home game of the season. They come in on senior night. Greenville's 5-2, been playing very good football. They are a team with talent and have shown some promise, and certainly a team that a lot of people look at as one of the better Greenville teams that's been around a long time.
Definitely. This is a class that's been winning over the course of of their careers. And they got some talented guys coming back. You can kind of tell when somebody's good when you recognize the names that are starters. It's like that kid still plays. This kid still plays. And they've had those familiar names now. Where number one's been there for a long time. Their quarterback's been there for a long time. And so I think they've got a good senior tradition for them, and they're playing with great confidence. They've got a really diverse offense. Their offensive coordinator became their head coach, so the offense hasn't changed a whole lot, but the diversification of it, they've got a lot of weapons. They got a lot of people that can carry the football. They got a lot of formations, a lot of motion. So there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts.
Let's talk a little bit about the Indians, and you talk about moving parts, but we talk about their offense, and it hasn't changed much from last year, but talk a little bit about their defense, man, because they've been playing good football defensively. They shut out West Carrollton, of course, and it was a close game, 7-0, but defensively they've also been very good.
Yeah, they have. They run a defense very similar to ours, so maybe that's a little bit of an advantage for us, but I guess for them too, that we see that defense every day. But they're really aggressive on defense. They always have good inside linebackers, always, since the days with the one guy that went to UC. But they've always had really good people in the middle, and this is no exception. They get out and they run to the football well. They swarm it well. You can't say that they're not good or weak in one particular aspect of their defense. They just play it all well. The biggest thing is they've got some guys playing both ways on the perimeter, similar to we do. So we're just going to have to see who can take advantage of a couple of mismatches here or there.
Keys to the win for the Indians on Friday night.
Well, it's come down to it's now our mantra. It's come down to the fact that the turnovers are just. Kids even are starting to realize sometimes, you fumble and you say, okay, I'll get them next time. They've got to realize that in any football game, everybody gets 6 turns. You get 6 turns with the ball. And all of a sudden come up and say, I'm going to skip my turn. I don't want my turn. And now it's down to 7, and they get your turn, and now it's 7 and 5. They're starting to get that idea that you just can't, how important turnovers are. And it turns into coach speak sometimes, where coaches say, don't turn the ball over, don't turn the ball over. But I think we're starting to realize that these two close games that we lost, and one other one, that turnovers were in fact a big factor. And we've got to be able to not do that, to not give our turn away.
Well, I think we talked about this too at one time. There's never a good time to turn the ball over, but there seems to be times this year that we've turned the ball over at times that really have been critical.
Mm-hmm. And there also, the other thing about the turnover, that it not only do you lose your turn, but it also then creates an obstacle mentally that you have to overcome. That now, the momentum, any momentum that you have is now, given away. You give away the ball, you give away momentum. And now your defense has to come back in, and it's like anything else. I think every time somebody's turned the ball over this year, we've scored. And that's something that we're proud of when we take advantage of that thing. And I think we've got to be able to just not give them the opportunities anymore. Field position is great, and that we have Trombo kicking, and we have Burns punting. We've got 2 great kickers, so we're able to get field position back and forth. But even when you get that long field position, if somebody doesn't score and they punt, then they're voluntarily giving up the football and maybe gaining some yards. But the turnover is just brutal.
Yeah, when we can take care of the ball and take advantage of their turnovers, that's when it seems that our success is happening.
Yeah, and that's going to be
obviously,
the key. That'll be the key to this game. That'll be the key to the game next week. That'll be the key to the game next week. But right now, the Indian Nation is focusing on we got one game, and that is Greenville, and that is it. This is the season.
Well, let's talk a little about our spotlight players today. Both wide receivers, Colin Rowe and Garrett Shrubb, both are great, have been great for us in their careers. Colin went down with an injury in week 1. Garrett's been hobbling around with an injury, but yet has shown some real leadership, some growth for him. Talk a little bit about both players and what both players have meant, not just to this team, but to the program in general.
Well, I think I'll start off with Colin. Colin's been, that guy that's been in our weight room for the last 4 years. He's won every Lift-A-Thon trophy there has. He's, great, speed-wise, and he's just been a great leader for us in terms of off-season. And unfortunately for him, is when the season comes in, that's when he kind of gets dinged up, and so he's yet to, to really be able to, put together that. That healthy season, and you feel bad because the kid works so hard year round, and just the thing that happened to him this year, he just got pulled from behind, and his leg got pulled from underneath him, and maybe he'll be able to work his way back in. It's just hard after you've been out 5, 6, 7 weeks. So we wish him luck, and hopefully. In tribute to him, he's here every day. He's doing his rehab. He's trying to help the team. He's doing whatever he can to help. Garrett, on the other hand, he's been hurt. He went the whole summer healthy, then he got hurt. And it seems like he's been hurt, and nothing's really helped him. Last week, they said, okay, you're done. They put him in a boot, and that week in the boot was a miracle. Because the week in a boot, he came out of that boot, and he is ready to go. Has nothing. He's back to his normal self. So we're really happy for him that he was able to come, because he's been our starting safety for the entire summer and into the 2-a-days. So we were able to get him back. We lost Zane Booker, who was our other returning starter, in the secondary, and which caused us to be a little thin in the secondary. But now we're getting some people healthy back.
Well, we're good. We're certainly going to be. It's very noticeable with those 2 guys. I know they had a lot of. From my perspective, watching the program, those guys have had a big impact on your program, and certainly watching Colin. I'm sure it's been very, very frustrating for him as a senior to watch your senior year kind of go by, knowing that you can't be on the field. But from Garrett's perspective, he's been battling that, and you can just see the toughness that he's had, not just physically but mentally.
Yeah, and the same thing with and we had another senior, Zane Booker, who's battling the same deal, and I don't know whether he goes every week. Gets the check, and you feel bad for those guys
because those guys put the time in the offseason.
They've been in the program, and you should be able to reap the benefits of it. At some point, it's tough.
Well, Coach, we're going to talk to Colin and Garrett here in a little bit, but we certainly wish you luck on Friday night as we gear up for Greenville.
Thank you.
We'll be back for part 2, where we're going to meet with Garrett and Colin, our wideouts, and talk a little bit about the future and where they're going to be coming right up. Welcome to part 2 of the Bill Nice's Coaches Show. With us now is a players portion. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, their name, their grade, and the position that they play.
All right. I'm Colin Rowe. I'm a senior, and I play wide receiver.
I'm Garrett Shrubb. I play wide receiver and safety.
2 wide receivers, 2 guys that have gone through some challenges physically and have some stories for us as to give us some updates on your injury. First game of the year, you go down in Chaminade Juliennes in the 4th quarter to a very, what we would call a long-term injury.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about what happened.
So 3 minutes left in the 4th quarter, and I was running a kick return back, and my toe caught the ground, and my ankle snapped just a little bit too forward. I'm coming back week 7, and I was originally supposed to be casted up 6 weeks, but it was healing a little quicker, so I'll be back a lot sooner. So I'll be able to help the team out a little bit more.
That doesn't sound like a very comfortable spot to be in when your ankle goes the wrong way. What went
It was
through your
awful.
mind at that night? I mean, you're sitting in the emergency room. Your senior year, what are some of the thoughts that you've had?
Well, when it first happened, I didn't really think it was broken because I tried to walk on it. It didn't hurt too bad, but then when I got to the hospital, it was really purple. It was swollen really bad. So I kind of figured something was up.
So you talked about week 7. They were most of the cast. Where are you now? We're going into week 8. Greenville coming up this week. Senior night for our fall teams. Where do you stand, and when do you think is it possible that you can make a return?
I'm hoping to return Friday, actually.
Really?
I'm going to come back practice tomorrow, grind it out all week. Hopefully I can come back 100%.
Oh, good. We would love to have you back. I know we've missed your leadership
Thank
on
you.
the field, Colin. Garrett, you also have had kind of a strange series of injuries that have kind of been up and down, all the way from the first scrimmage of the year. Talk a little bit about that, Garrett.
Well, in the first scrimmage of the year, I was playing safety, and I haven't really done it very much because I actually hurt my ankle first in a 7-on-7, so I was taking it easy throughout. So it was my first time back in a scrimmage. We get to Springboro, came across, the guy cut back, and I couldn't cut back on my leg, and my ankle just twisted really bad. And it's hurt all season. And then up until the West Carrollton game, it was doing good. In the West Carrollton game, I don't know what happened. I caught the ball, came down, and then I just couldn't walk on it again. So we went to the doctors that night, and they said that it was broke. So it was really weird because I thought it felt fine. I thought it felt better than the first time. So we went again to the specialist, and the specialist told me that he thinks it's good, so he just put me right back out there. So I was just ready to get back.
So in true Shrubb fashion, you bounced back.
Yes.
How, from an injury standpoint, how has it been for you, knowing that you've got to brace it up and you've got to tape it? You just can't go out there and play. I'm sure it's probably been frustrating, but yet probably educating for you as well as listening to your body.
Yeah, I always complained up until this year about having to tape my ankles because I never really had problems with it. But my dad always said I had weak ankles, and this year I really found out that I got to take care of it because if not, I'll be out even longer. And then, who knows? I'm just ready to be back and keep playing.
Let's talk about keep playing, because on Friday night it is senior night. Greenville comes to town in the final, final home game of the season. Talk a little bit about that game and what that game means to us right now as we gear into week 8 of this year.
Well, right now I'm not worried about any other game besides this game. I'm ready to just come out here, get everything back, get the team back together, see what we can do, come out stronger than ever. I'm really hoping we start off on a good foot and just go out there and get the first win of our new season.
Speaking of a good foot, let's talk about your good foot and hopefully to come back. What do you think, from your perspective, watching this year? I'm sure it's been very difficult from the sidelines. Now that you're thinking about potentially making your way back, what are some of the thoughts that's going through your mind?
Really, the most important thing is coming back and helping the team. I really want to be there because I've been playing football for the same group of kids for the last 4 years, and just really want to be back out there and help them.
How hard has it been for you to watch?
I've been playing football for a really long time. Kind of breaks my heart a little bit to just watch my last year of football just kind of go down the drain. So, but overcame it, so I'm going to come back. So,
Good for you.
kind of a dream come true.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the future. Garrett, let's save the senior for last, but for you, you're a junior, you get to come back next year. As you said, we're only thinking about this year, but in the back of your mind, you're knowing you're starting to lay some seeds of groundwork for next year for not yourself just as an individual, but as a leader for this team. What has it been like you? What have you learned about this year, not about wins and losses, but just learned about leadership? Because you've been in a more prominent role this year than you've been even last year as a sophomore. So how has that helped you as a leader?
See, for me, it's always being able to try to get the guys back into it. If the other team scores right away, it's always trying to get everyone's heads back up and just get back out there and go back out and just get it back tied up. So it's always just something about trying to get everyone motivated.
I'm going to ask you one thing, and you'll probably get this question again next year, but I'm going to ask you again when that time comes. But for now, what does it mean as a junior to be at Piqua Indian and play on Friday nights for the Indian Nation?
Well, there's nothing like it. When you're walking out on that field, coming out of that tunnel, and just seeing everyone in the stands, it's crazy. It's just a dream come true. You can never, like when I was little, that's the only thing I dreamed about. Like, you don't have to go to the college level to enjoy something so much.
Well, Garrett, you've been a pleasure to watch, and as you develop, it's been fun to watch you get better, and we certainly look forward to a great game from you Friday night and the rest of your career.
Thank you.
Colin, let's talk a little about your senior year. You've actually been in front of the camera. This is not abnormal for
Right,
you.
right.
You have done some commercials for our Indian Nation station manager, Anthony Ganger,
Right.
better known as AJ. You've done some things for him, but you've also done some things for a media group. So is this something that you have an interest in?
I mean, it's something I really want to be around in high school. I think it's just a good group of kids and a good class with good, respectful teachers, and just kind of, they weren't just teachers, they were really good friends of mine, so it kind of made high school a lot better for me.
Colin, talk a little bit about where we are going to be in it. When graduation comes upon you this coming spring and into the summer, what are some of your thoughts and plans for yourself individually?
I plan on attending Bowling Green University, and then Bowling Green State University, and then I want to get a degree in exercise science, and I want to become like a personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach, something within those lines, athletic trainer. I kind of want to keep football in my life as long as I can, so I think it'd be pretty great.
Well, I can understand that, and I think whatever you decide to do, we know you're going to be successful at it because of your personality.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We wish you well, certainly Friday night, the rest of the season, but moreover, certainly as you move into the next chapter of your journey.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This concludes the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. Just a reminder that the game will be broadcasted on the Indian Nation station probably this weekend. It's been getting on a little bit sooner. Anthony Ganger has been great about getting those on. I know the people in Pickle have enjoyed those games. Also, the Bill Neese's Coaches Show will also air after the Bill Neese's Coaches Show on Monday evening. So again, kickoff here at Alexander Stadium against Greenville at 7 p.m. on senior night. So for Mr. Shrubb and our wide receiver groups, I should say, maybe our senior and junior wide receivers and junior wide receiver, we will look forward to seeing you, Mr. Rowe and Mr. Shrubb. Have a good night.